one of the ones I always find fascinating with your concept of you can teach anything with a special interest was we did the example where we said, teach me about the planets as if I'm a year 5 student, and it gave an answer on the planets. It was great. And then we said, I have a special interest in Minecraft. Can you adapt this to teach me using my special interest to keep me engaged and learn the key concepts? And it mirrored what had been done in the above it, but it did things like, Mercury, the planet Mercury. It goes, imagine Mercury as a hot desert planet in Minecraft. During the day, it's scorching with lava rivers. At night, it's freezing cold, just like a desert biome in the game. So I'm not into Minecraft at all, but I went, oh, wow, okay, that's interesting. So
yeah. And this is what I was going to say. I don't understand much about Minecraft because our kids missed Minecraft, but I read that and I can tell you whether my kid on the spectrum would tell me whether that is correct or not. But the fact that they're correcting it is getting them engaged and thinking anyways. Hi everyone, welcome to the Sue Larkey podcast. As I always say, you have to embrace difference to make a difference. Let's dive into today's podcast. Well, welcome everybody. I am super excited to be doing this podcast today because recently I had a workshop in Newcastle and Andrew, my husband, who many of you have had tech help from in the past, whether you've done an online course or live virtual or Zoom, Andrew's always been my tech expert. And we were doing a workshop in Newcastle and Andrew had come along to help on the day. And he started chatting to a parent about how they could use AI or ChatGPT to help their year 12 daughter. Was it, Andy?
Yeah, well, yes, actually, it was at lunchtime, and this lovely parent was saying that her daughter was blitzing chemistry, maths, but really struggling with English. And she said, she couldn't even get drafts in, didn't know what to write, and it was a high probability that she may not even graduate from her HSC with, because she couldn't pass English and couldn't get it going. And then I asked if she'd heard about ChatGPT, and it's a large language model. It's trained on English to give a hand, and the lady said she'd never heard of it. So I went, Sue, I think you've got to have it. You've got to have a look in your community if this is something that could help, because as we know, we also have a friend that went through exactly the same that. And albeit that it's the secondary level, we also know that could be equally applicable, at primary and even at early childhood.
Yeah. So the friend that you're talking about, and I was going to come to that, was actually for a drama assessment for her son in year 12. So the reason that Andrew is recommending, though, ChatGPT and all these things is because he actually has a background in computer science and has an interest in computer programming and languages. Personally, I find it all a little bit daunting and overwhelming. So I thought most of my listeners are exactly like me and probably roll their eyes a bit, not really sure where to start, how to use it. And even some of the words Andrew just used, like a large language model, I'm like, the listeners are going to turn off at that. We need to, dare I say, simplify it, slow it down, break it down. So what I asked Andrew to do was actually make a bit of a PDF summary of all the key things you need to know, but even better, how you can use it for our neurodiverse children and students, and parents, how you can use it at home. Because it's all about the prompts. And Andrew keeps telling me this, and I'm like, whatever. But I actually, based on his cheat sheet, just did a couple of assessment tasks, actually, like to see how ChatGPT could help me as a teacher based on what Andrew had done in the PDF that I recommend you download. And I actually have put the example now into the PDF so that you can go back and refer to it. So what I said is, how did we do that? Start that, Andrew. See, I'm still working it out, guys.
You asked the prompt, what are prompts a teacher could use for planning an assessment task for a student with executive functioning challenges?
Yeah.
And in 10 seconds, you got,
it's something better than I could have written. So in 10 seconds, so executive functioning issues, just a reminder for all of you, is like planning, organizing. So I didn't have to tell ChatGPT what executive functioning was. I just said, what are some prompts a teacher could use? And in like 20 seconds, which I find mind-blowing, it came up with simplify language, structure and routine, instructions, and dot points under all of those. So have a look at it. But then we added the next prompt, which was?
We said, please apply the above answer that it gave us to an English assessment for the book, The Crucible.
And then it adapted it to The Crucible in like 20 seconds and came up with 9 different supports for a student that were mind-blowing. I couldn't have written better myself. Now, just to put it in another context, if I'd Googled what are the executive functioning that I could put in place for a student, I would have been trolling through a whole lot of different websites, going from one thing to another, trying to work out what to do. This has actually adapted the curriculum in 10 seconds for a specific book. Now, if you're a primary school teacher and you're like, oh, come on, Sue, how's that going to help me? Well, the next prompt we put in was what, Andrew?
We said, again, use the prompt the starting prompt and apply to the 13-story treehouse.
And so it then applied it to that. But you could change it to the Jiggery or any book. Any book you're reading in a primary school as young as 6 or 7. And what I love, it's like the things it comes up with, like structure and routine, consistent routine, start with brainstorming, shorter session, allow the student to draft their story over 7 class periods. Like, it's simple, but as a teacher, I haven't got time to write down all the accommodations I'm putting in place. And boom, ChatGPT just did it for me for The Crucible and the 13-story treehouse. And I could do it for another book that I'm reading, like Possum Magic. Who knows? Whatever you're reading in your class. But what blows my mind is the speed it could accommodate. But it's all about the prompts. And I think that's what Andrew's taught me. The fact we put in the executive functioning first, then accommodate the book. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just on your executive functioning, just to point out, it's in the book, is ChatGPT actually came back with its summary of a brief 3 lines on executive functioning. It said, students with executive functioning challenges may struggle with tasks that require organisation, time management, emotional regulation, working memory, and self-monitoring. So it gave a quick, this is the issue, and then this is how it solves it.
Amazing. Yeah,
unbelievable.
And for parents, if your kid has an assessment task on The Crucible and you don't know how to support your child, you can actually say, I am a parent. How can I help my child with this assessment task?
Yeah. So just to jump in, I think just when you mentioned Google search, I think this is a really, really important concept to get about the difference between a Google search and what this can offer you as a teacher or as a parent or an educator. And I like this analogy is Google is like going to the librarian at your school and saying, I'm interested in accommodations for students with executive functioning, and it will point you towards books and references or websites, and then you got to go find it yourself and summarize, etc. What these new chat GPTs and AIs are, they're like a really, really smart friend that will give you the complete answer, and you can personalize it, interrogate them, ask them anything you like, make adjustments. I don't like that, change this. It will do absolutely everything. So it's a personal friend that can actually answer all the questions that you could possibly have.
Yeah. And I love that. But what is miraculous for me is the speed the friend answers it. So if I went to the librarian, asked for some books on executive functioning, they'd probably say, come back in half an hour, I'll find some books for you. They would have a pile of books, and then I'd have to look in the back, search through, trying to find which one I like. Whereas with ChatGPT, it can, there's other ones and we'll talk about them, but with, let's call it ChatGPT in this case, it came up with it so fast, and I look at it and I'm blown away because it's exactly what I would be telling teachers, teacher assistants, parents to do. And for example, as a teacher, this is going to give you what your teacher assistants can do with your students in a heartbeat. Or if you're a teacher assistant whose teacher doesn't give you the direction because they don't have the time, it's going to be a time saver.
Absolutely. And look, even to add more to that with your personal assistant, you can say in your prompt, you can say, tell me where you got this from.
Yes.
Or give me the website that you got that from. So if you get an answer and you go, your gut feel is that looks really good, but you want to check that it's rigorous or those sorts of things, it will provide that. Or you could just give it the website that you want and it will search the website and give you a summary anyway. So it's just the possibility, once you get that concept that it's a really smart friend, the world opens up to what you can adapt and adjust for your neurodiverse students.
Yeah. And looking at it as a really smart friend who understands diversity. So I hate to say it, but it's as good as having me in your classroom in many ways. And
whoa. That's not, the other thing, we might get to this later, is one of the things I am doing is collecting all Sue's podcasts and resources into its own knowledge base that you can chat to it and use like a ChatGPT, like a personal friend. It will be like having Sue Larkey as your personal assistant.
Yeah, but not to freak people out, but Andrew's actually cloned me. I don't know if a wife or as a teacher, I've yet to be decided. I think be a much nicer wife. But the truth is that Andrew has actually put in one of my transcripts from a podcast, the Temple Grandin podcast, where I talk about what I've learned from Temple Grandin, and asked ChatGPT, said, I'm a teacher who's having a student who's been bullied. What can I do? And the answer was better than I would give, because the truth is I feel like I'm going on and on and on, whereas ChatGPT is happy to give 3 or 4 answers. And when you're personally answering something, you feel like, oh, I'm boring the person. I think we're all guilty of that, of thinking, oh, I've told too much. And even weirder, Andrew then got it to talk in my voice and it sounded pretty good. So I don't know what the future is. Well, it's pretty mind-blowing, but exciting, because I don't always have time to get to everybody. And people always say, how do we get more help from you? And I think this is the future. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you answer 10 to 20 emails from, participants and parents and teachers in some pretty tough situations. And this could be just an asset to you to draw on to give more detailed responses, that you still answer it, but you still review it, but it's just another resource to help save time and access the right materials.
And I think this is a way to look at all of this AI. It's just a time saver. And what teacher isn't after a time saver? But just going back, for any of you who have no idea what we mean by AI or ChatGPT or any of these things, I was a little bit freaked out about all this myself, and Andrew kept showing me these things, like how he could clone my voice and do all these things. And I was listening to a completely different podcast on self-development, and this guy was talking about AI, and he said, you're already using it. When you go on a website and you look at a pair of shoes, and the next thing that pair of shoes is coming up on your news feed, that is AI. Half the phone places that you call, when it says put in 1, 2, you're already using AI. So any of you who are like, oh, freak out, this sounds so freaky, you're already using it. You're using it every day. Your bank account now puts in whether you've spent money on food, different categories. That is a robot. So don't think you're not using it already. That if you can just think, I'm already using these robots, how can I use them to help me with diverse children? And that is what we want to do a bit of a quick deep dive into and give you a cheat sheet. So I like the summary at the top. Is there anything else you wanted to say on that first page, Andrew, about what you've put on the cheat sheet there?
Just again, the theme of this being a personal assistant is where it is a superpower is anything that you need summarizing, explained, interacting, a quiz, a question, a translation, role play. We've got a list goes on and on. Anything to do with English, it is It can do it. It can do creative, absolutely. Where with mathematics, they're doing a lot of work on it, but it's not trained for mathematics. So it's mainly that, the potential is really interesting for, time savers and what's possible.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know it's not trained for mathematics. So I said to Andrew before we did this podcast, I don't want to read this PDF too much or talk to you too much about it, because I want to be like a listener who's reading this PDF for the first time, and I want it to be more like us having a conversation about it, because as my listeners know, my podcast is meant to be a conversation. So that's why I'm saying to Andrew, what do you want people to know and me to know about it? Okay, so it doesn't do maths yet. That's good to know.
One other thing, it does do maths, but it has to be trained. So I wouldn't bother with it with maths at this stage. Wait. But look, I've been very positive about it, Sue. And what I wanted to say was there are some problems with it. So it's not, I'm obviously a fan, but there are some significant problems with it. And a couple of things to highlight is we still review those things that we create to give feedback to people and resources. And when it makes a mistake, it will make, if you're not specific in your prompt, it will just make stuff up.
I know. Hang on. I have to interrupt because people are going to love this word if they haven't heard it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's called a hallucination. ChatGPT doesn't make mistakes, it hallucinates. And for those of you who have children who are perfectionists, and if you think that ChatGPT and AIs are probably made by many neurodiverse people, it makes sense. We won't call them mistakes. We'll call them hallucinations. So I just love the fact it doesn't make a mistake. It hallucinates. Am I right? Is that what
Absolutely.
It's called?
Yeah. And just from a safety point of view, there's enormous amount of work going on to make sure that, it's answers in appropriate ways. And on the cheat sheet of how to get started, some of them are a bit further along that path than others. But again, like any web tool, I think you need to be, do your own testing and move forward on that as well.
Yeah, but what I would say to everybody is what we would love you to take away from listening to this podcast is actually go and have a go. Mm-hmm. And because I know a lot of people like me would be, I don't know where to start. I'm a bit overwhelmed. And then you meet people like Andrew who are so into it and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know where to go with this. So what I'm hoping is everyone gets off this podcast and goes, okay, I'm going to give one of these a go. So there are a few different ones on page 3 of the cheat sheet. Can you talk us through the different ones and then we'll come back how to use it?
Okay, and I'll try not to tech out here too much, but
don't you worry, honey. I'll let you know when you've gone too far.
Well, I don't know whether we should tell people that Sue models what she thinks is.
Hang on. I love it. Those people listening, don't you love it when your partner or husband says, I don't know if we should tell people, but then launches into telling people without getting permission? But I know exactly what he's about to say, so go for it.
Well, Sue, because ChatGPT and those sort of things have become my special interest, Sue models what she talks about with teaching and carers, and that I'm only allowed to tell one ChatGPT story a day. And if I use it up, that's it. I can't talk about my special interest anymore. And, so anyway.
Be honest. That once a day can go for half an hour and my eyes have glazed over about 2 seconds in. So I'm very patient. Once a day is generous.
I'm pretty sure when you get up from the table and leave and I'm still talking, but it's a sign it's over. But anyway, so to Sue's point, though, I cannot emphasize how we've just stepped through to make this such an easy experience to do. So on the page that Sue talks about, I've focused in on three of the big AIs, and imagine they're tools. There's a couple of strengths and weaknesses that you may want to use, but the point being there's a website URL to go. So you literally type into your website and you can instantly start using them. They make it so easy. You put your email and details in. But the ones I just want to quickly talk about, that just to open your eyes of what's possible and then go to that page. But it is so straightforward to give it a go. They're making it so easy. The first one is ChatGPT. There's a URL or website address. You click that in, put your details in, and you can then start asking questions straight away. It just comes up on a clean page and says, ask me a question. And so it's that easy. The second one I've talked about is called Bard, which is run by Google. And is behind all of these are the massive tech companies. So Bard, again, just go to the URL provided, put it in. If you've got a Google account, it'll automatically open. The difference with this one is that it gives you up-to-date details. So it uses Google search, so it can go to websites, while ChatGPT, which I just mentioned, it finishes all the information training, only goes up to 2021. Okay, so that's a big difference. So Bard gives you access to the internet because it's run by Google. The third one I put in there for you to have a look at is called Claude 2. Now, the reason I put that one is the other two I've mentioned all have a word limitation, and you can't upload a document. So if you had a big PDF or textbook or a report you wanted summarized, you can't put that into ChatGPT or Bard. But on Claude 2, you've got 100,000 words of prompt and answer you can put into a question. Okay, to put in perspective, the other two have 3,000 characters and 6,000 characters. So Claude 2, you can upload, just drag in a document and get a report summary. So if it'll give you the summary, it'll make questions for you, all those sorts of things. So they're the three different things. So basically, ChatGPT is amazing on answers. Bard, you get access to the internet and websites, and Claude, you can put in documents.
And Bing?
Bing is similar to Bard. That's owned by Microsoft. So many of you, the teachers out there, your schools would have Microsoft. So ChatGPT is not owned, but most invested by Microsoft. So they have if you go to Bing, and we've put that in there, you can use ChatGPT as part of Bing and get access to more relevant information on the internet. So it's worth looking at as well. And we've got it again. You just go to the URL and it looks after itself.
Yeah. I'll just go back to the Claude 2 because I think it's interesting how we've been using that. So as podcast listeners, we normally get the transcript of the podcast, and then I try and pull out the key points of what's been said in the podcast. But personally, I find that a really hard task because I go back and look at what I've said and I'm trying to pick the key points, and I can spend hours doing that. We put the transcript of my podcast into ChatGPT and into Claude 2 and ask Claude 2 to give us the top 10 tips for teachers or the top 10 tips for parents, and boom, it will bring those up. Now, don't get me wrong, I go and edit them, change them. Sometimes it's the same point twice, but it's the most amazing starting point. And this is what I believe for our neurodiverse children. Many of you would have heard me talk about that many of our children can't get started. What Claude 2 will do is give them a starting point. So you can put in an assessment task or in a piece of writing and ask it to come up with some key things. And I think for people who get stuck in the detail or don't know where to start, this is where Claude 2 will be amazing for you and your students or your children. Yeah.
Yeah, really good point. Really excellent example.
Yeah. So on page 2 of the PDF that Andrew's put together for you, the cheat sheet, what he did based on listening to, I suspect what you did looking at this, based on listening to me talk quite a lot on autism and neurodiversity and the challenges, did you ask ChatGPT how did you get this doc?
To get the prompts one or
the number 2 one, the perfectionism, page 2.
Perfectionism.
On page 2 of the PDF, how did you come up with that checklist?
I asked ChatGPT. I said, give me the diagnostic criteria for a student on the autism spectrum, their characteristics, and how AI chats could help them. So that was the starting point. And then we went through and removed the hallucinations and then added our own experience with it.
Yeah, thanks, honey. So basically, we went through that quickly. I had a quick look with Andrew, took some out, but then again, I didn't want to look too closely at it because I wanted to chat through it. So, for example, for many of our students who are perfectionist, what ChatGPT said is, well, the advantage is that it can help students. Why can it help students there?
Well, what it can do is you can put in a prompt, get an answer, and then regenerate it, make a change, and it's instant. So you can, if it doesn't give what you want, you go, oh, I don't like it because of this, and you can be specific why you didn't like it, and it will generate an answer in about 5 seconds. So you can, and then you can take bits forward. It's just, you can, it's like a puzzle. You can actually make total changes and you're not stuck with it, and you haven't over-invested your time or emotional energy in getting it exactly right.
I love that. Now, the next one, the special interests, you've actually put an example on page...
Yeah, it's in there. Well,
page 6. Page 6.
This was really interesting because this was one of the ones I always find fascinating with your concept of you can teach anything with a special interest. Was we did the example where we said, teach me about the planets as if I'm a year 5 student, and it gave an answer on the planets. It was great. And then we said, I have a special interest in Minecraft. Can you adapt this to teach me using my special interest to keep me engaged and learn the key concepts? And it mirrored what had been done in the above it, but it did things like, Mercury, the planet Mercury. It goes, imagine Mercury as a hot desert planet in Minecraft. During the day, it's scorching with lava rivers. At night, it's freezing cold, just like a desert biome in the game. So I'm not into Minecraft at all, but I went, oh, wow, okay, that's interesting. So
yeah. And this is what I was going to say. I don't understand much about Minecraft because our kids missed Minecraft, but I read that and I can tell you whether my kid on the spectrum would tell me whether that is correct or not. But the fact that they're correcting it is getting them engaged and thinking anyway. So even if ChatGPT hallucinates a little bit, it's a starting point to get the child thinking, oh, Mercury can be like a planet on Minecraft. So I love how this can support you with your students, especially like if you don't have the same special interests as them, or the fact we've been able to take a year 5 student doing planets and then adapt it. Now, you could actually make that a year 1 student doing planets, and it would simplify it again, and it would use much more simple language. So, for example, one of the things Andrew first showed me on ChatGPT that was mind-blowing, we got this document from our accountant and my eyes sort of rolled over and I'm like, oh, gosh, I don't want to read all this stuff. So Andrew put the document in Claude and asked Claude to explain what the accountant had said like we were 6-year-olds. And it was so funny. It said, so get a piggy bank and put the money in. So then we're like, okay, not like 6-year-olds, like 12-year-olds and then 18-year-olds. But what was amazing, we have had documents like that from our accountant in the past and not understood it. By putting that through Claude, first time ever, we understood the concepts. Is that true, babe?
Yeah, absolutely. Good example.
Yeah, so it's a really good example. And I love how you did that one to show people how they can use their special interests. So back to page 2. I think this is a really important one that choices can create anxiety. And those of you who have done my course will know I talk about no choice is a good choice. So what ChatGPT, or would it be ChatGPT we'd use for choicing?
They could all do this one. Yep.
Okay. You could actually say, like, give me 3 good resources on planets, or give me 3 good resources on, I don't know, what would be another example?
Yeah, I think, if you use the ones that have internet access like Bard or Bing, you could literally say, give me 2 great websites for researching on explorers or on dinosaurs, and it will give you the answer. And then as a teacher, you could vet them, or as a parent or carer, you could check them out and go, no, give me 2 more. I don't like those. Or then you got 2 and then you can say, use those. Or you literally put that website in and say, give me a summary of this website. And I put an example in there for the Sulaki website. I literally put the URL into Bard and said, this is the Sulaki website URL or web address, and said, summarize this website address for me. And it's in your report, it's in there. So it just went straight there and provided a summary of that page.
Wow. I'm just looking at it. That is so cool. I love it.
And again, as Sue said, they're all starting points. They're not intended to plagiarize or cheat or whatever, but that when listening to that mother in Newcastle and our friends that their neurodiverse student has struggled, is it just gives them a starting point that they can then adapt and use their logical minds to actually go, oh, well, and there is we haven't debated this, Sue and I haven't talked about this, but one of the things I think is really interesting is it is actually a different mindset to use prompting and design to actually recreate a story and personalize it. And it just means they don't get bogged into the semantics and the language and the grammar and the words and the vocabulary, because that's taken care of. They're actually getting to say, no, make the character a little bit stronger. So you can go, make the story Mary say this, or make Mary more assertive and confident, and it will rewrite it like that and go, okay, now put in a dinosaur comes in after this sentence. So you can actually, it's basically like you're a director of your own written work. It's for neurodiverse students using that logical brain. It just takes away the mystery of the words.
Yeah, and the more I look at it, the more I feel it actually has been written by neurodiverse people. That actually, if you think of the logical mind of a neurodiverse person, Google gives too many choices. It's overwhelming with choices. Whereas AI is much more specific, and there's going to be jobs in prompts and learning to write good prompts. And that's why we've put a few examples in, because it's all about the prompts. It's all about putting the right prompts and putting, I'm a teacher, I'm a teacher assistant, I'm a parent, I'm a, occupational therapist who's looking for speech, whatever your role is, you need to tell the AI what your role is and what you're looking for. But what I really do love what Andrew's saying. So say we go back to the example of give me 2 good resources and it gives you 2 websites. Then you could say, no, I'm looking for a website for a 5-year-old, right? Or I'm looking for a website for a 15-year-old, right? That's appropriate. And so whereas currently if you go on Google, you can't ask Google for that. Or you'll spend hours trying to find it because that's not possible. But with these, you can be so specific. Or I'm looking for a website for a child who needs visuals. So it'll be like a visual learner. Or is that right? Or am I going wrong there?
And this is the crazy thing, Sue, is that you can actually go into ChatGPT and write, I'm a year 5 teacher new to ChatGPT. You just be honest. It's like a really honest friend. You go,
yeah,
I just have no idea what I'm doing. I want to write a prompt to help my student that's got ADHD engage in, doing puzzles and problem solving or whatever. You literally just pour out your soul. They do this, they like this. You literally pour it out, and Bing or boom, it will tell you this, use this prompt. And then you go, okay. And then you put the prompt in and it goes, and then it'll answer your question. It is seriously like talking to your most intimate best friend, or you don't get that sort of intimate, but just you don't have to this is the to your point, Sue, about getting over the fear of giving it a go. It is seriously, you don't have to do not overthink it. You literally just pour your heart out going, I have no idea what I'm doing on ChatGPT. Can you help me? And it'll come back. Yeah, absolutely. It's, and it will support you through it. It's bizarre, but it works.
Okay, so seeing Andrew's only allowed to talk about ChatGPT once a day, I think you're all hearing his passion. He's getting a bit carried away. So
does this count? This doesn't count. This
counts. This is your once a day, okay? And I've got a recording of it now. We can go back to it. So, But seriously, I'm hoping you've got some great tips. I would highly recommend that you print out the cheat sheet that Andrew's created for you. Is there anything else we've missed?
No, just that you'll see on the sheet there. Just ask ChatGPT or Bard or whatever you're using to write your prompts for you. You just say in real world language what your issue is. Don't overthink it, or just put in who you are, what you want, and then give it feedback on it. No, you missed the point. Just literally like you're talking to a really smart, caring friend.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the big thing is to really realize you're already using AI. It's not new. It's just a new way of using AI. And for most of you, it's going to be a massive time saver. A friend of ours who's a principal, some of her teachers did use it for writing reports. Why not? Go for it. I think you will be, as I say, you still got to read it, edit it. It's not taking away from you. What it is a time saver. And I don't know any teacher, teacher aide, educator who's not looking for a time saver. If you're an occupational therapist, I'm looking for strategies for a child who's sensory seeking about boom, 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 pop it in. You'll be amazed what you can find. Whereas if you started Googling, I can tell you go down hours of a minefield. So personally, I would say stop Googling, start trying all these AIs and give them a go. The reason that I recorded this in the holidays is I feel like you've got more time to have a go. So this episode should be coming out when most of you are on holidays or going on holidays. So I just thought it's a good opportunity to go on, have a little bit of an play with it. When you're busy in the classroom, you haven't always got capacity. So I was hoping this was a good holiday listening and opportunity to have a little chat. And, maybe talk to your friends and find out what they've been doing and how they've been using it. Because people don't really feel comfortable sharing. But when I ask teachers, I am shocked how many are using it to have a go with reports and different things for their students.
Fantastic.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. Andrew has included, I just looked, it's up to him if he wants to, his email address, if anyone wants to talk to him more than once a day about AI. If this is something you want to learn more about, I'm always open to getting Andrew on board as our tech expert to give us some more things. So let us know if this was helpful, how else we can help you. But it really was just a starting cheat sheet, get you started to have a go. But most importantly, as always, my passion is we support more students, and I'm hoping we can use AI to support more students by giving them the accommodations that they need. And because we don't always have the time, I'm hoping this is going to be the time saver. This is your teacher assistant if you don't have one, for example.
Love it. Good point. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Look forward to hearing if this was helpful.
Thanks, Sue.
Pleasure. I hope you've got some great tips and strategies to make a difference. Remember, strategies wear out and not every strategy works for everybody. If you're ready to dive in deeper to more strategies and ideas to make a difference, I'd highly recommend you consider Dr. Tony Atwood or my online courses. For more information, visit my website www.suelaki.com.au.